So once we have answered the first two questions as a part of the feasibility study, the technical feasibility is, can we build it? The economic feasibility is, should we build it? The final question is organizational feasibility. And that question is, if we build it, will they come? If we build it, will they use it? And that is a pretty important question to ask and a pretty important answer to have. We could have created the most fabulous, wonderful system in the world that is going to save the company millions and millions of dollars, but if nobody uses it, we're not going to see any of those benefits out of it. So there's a couple of ways that we can assess whether or not they will use it if we build it. The first way is called strategic alignment, and this is the idea of the fit between the project and the business strategy. Does the project align with what the end users or what the people value? So let's say, for instance, I'm a rental car company and I have maintenance personnel. And maintenance personnel are supposed to conduct maintenance on the vehicle, and then they're supposed to record that information in a computer. But they absolutely hate having to do that data entry. They would, if they must, they would rather write it on a piece of paper and give it to the front desk and allow the data entry to do that. They absolutely hate having to key it into the computer themselves. So what if I proposed a system to the maintenance team that allowed them to use something like handheld scanners, for instance, to scan barcodes that they didn't have to do any input in a keyboard. Instead, they could import everything through a scanner. So don't you think the maintenance team is going to be a whole lot more excited about that system than a system that would triple the amount of data input that they would have to have? So we want to see the fit between the project and the business strategy, what it is that the users want, what it is that the business values the most. Another way to determine if they're going to use it is to do what is called a stakeholder analysis. And this identifies the stakeholders or the people who will be impacted when this system is implemented. So we need to identify who is going to be impacted, and we need to identify ways to get them involved, to get them on board on the system. So if you turn to page 65 in your book, you're going to see an example of a stakeholder analysis, or an example of stakeholders. There are three different types of stakeholders. The first one is called a champion. Now, the champion may or may not be the project sponsor. Project sponsors are generally involved in the day-to-day support of the system, where the champions, if it is not the sponsor, the champion is a high-level executive who maybe is a non-technical executive within the company who is going to be a champion or a cheerleader for the system to the executives and to the board and to the rest of the organization. If at all possible, you want to have more than one champion, especially if the champion is not the sponsor, because organizations change and champions leave, people leave the organization, and so you want to have as many champions as possible within the executive or within the management team to be able to positively present your system to the rest of the organization. And some of the ways that we can get the champions involved in the system is perhaps by making presentation about the objectives to the executives, or creating prototypes that the champion is going to demonstrate to the executive board or to the management team as a way to get them involved and to increase support within the company. Now, another type of a stakeholder is the management team themselves. And it's important to have the management on board because the management are going to be the ones who help increase the use of the system through their departments and through their teams. So we want the management to be on board. So some of the ways that we can get management involved in this new system is to make presentations about the objectives of the project, to market the benefits or show them the benefits of the system and how it is directly going to impact them personally and their team members to increase productivity. And of course, you'd want to have your champion talk to the management team about the benefits of the new system. And the third type of a stakeholder within any new system are the system users. These are the end users, the ones who are actually using the system itself. And it is vitally important to have your system users on board from the very beginning. It's very important that you understand what it is they dislike about the current system and what they would like to see improved in the new system. because ultimately you can have the greatest system in the world, but if your end users don't like it and they don't use it, it is going to be all for naught. So it's important to involve the system users in the process from the very beginning. And there are several different ways that you can do that. For instance, you could assign official roles on the project team to some of the system users. You want to definitely get regular feedback from the system users. As I mentioned before, have conversations with them about the current system, what they would like improved, what they would like added, what they absolutely hate about their current system, and see what functionality you can add into the new system and keep them involved in that process so that they know that their feedback is being heard and being implemented into the new system. So having perhaps weekly meetings or bi-week or monthly meetings or something with the end users to let them know the progress of the new system. So we have a number of stakeholders, people who are being impacted, and we wanted to create a document that lists them, who they are, how they're going to be impacted, and how we can get them on board or get them involved with our new system. So ultimately, we're going to take our feasibility study, which includes our cost-benefit analysis, and we're going to take our stakeholder analysis. We're going to bundle that together with the original system request, and we're going to have our project sponsor present that to the powers that be, to the approval committee. They're either going to give an up or down vote on whether or not we should proceed with this new project. And there are a number of reasons why they might reject or table an existing project or a new project. And sometimes it's budgetary. We just don't have the money for it now. Sometimes we may just not have the manpower to do it now. Sometimes we're too involved in other projects and we just need to put a hold on it for a moment. That is Chapter 2. Let me know if you have any questions.